My name is Miranda, 28 years old, and until last month, I thought I knew what family meant. Mom and I were always close, sharing secrets my controlling father and his loyal sidekick, my sister, never knew. Then came the accusation that changed everything. $50,000 missing from Mom's account, and somehow I was the thief. Return the $50,000 or don't come home, Dad pointed and yelled that night. My sister smirked, adding, "You took Mom's money. We all know." They never expected me to return with evidence that would shatter our family forever. Before I dive into this story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit subscribe if you've ever been wrongfully accused by the people who should trust you most. Growing up in Maplewood Heights, a middle-class suburban neighborhood in Ohio, our family looked picture-perfect from the outside. White picket fence, Sunday dinners, holiday cards with matching sweaters. The reality inside those walls told a different story. My mother, Donna, 56, worked as a nurse at Riverside Memorial for over 30 years. Kind-hearted and perpetually exhausted, she dedicated herself to everyone else's needs before her own. Mom was the quintessential saver, putting away small amounts from every paycheck into what she called her just-in-case fund. Little did we know how important that fund would become. My father, Raymond, 58, managed the local bank branch. He controlled everything in our household from the thermostat settings to dinner conversations. His obsession with appearances meant we lived in constant fear of disappointing him or worse, embarrassing him in front of others. "What will people think?" became the unofficial family motto, repeated whenever one of us stepped out of line. My sister Heather, 30, 2 years my senior, mastered the art of appeasing Dad. She mirrored his opinions, laughed at his jokes, and reported any household infractions. Her psychology degree remained unused as she worked as Dad's assistant at the bank, absorbing his business philosophies and management style. Heather learned early that allegiance to Dad meant privileges and praise. Our family dynamic operated like clockwork. Mother mediated conflicts, father dictated decisions, sister complied enthusiastically, and I questioned everything, much to Dad's dismay. I was the family disruptor, the one who asked uncomfortable questions at dinner about why Mom never got new clothes while Dad updated his wardrobe seasonally, or why Heather received a new car for graduation when I got a used bicycle. After high school, I escaped to State University on a partial scholarship, supplemented by 3 part-time jobs. I studied accounting, finding comfort in numbers that balanced perfectly, unlike my family relationships. College meant freedom from Dad's constant criticism and Heather's watchful eyes. For 4 years, I thrived in an environment where questioning was encouraged, not punished. I established my career as a financial analyst at Wilson & Associates, a respectable firm 40 minutes from my hometown. I rented a small apartment, lived within my means, and visited home monthly for obligatory family dinners. Life settled into a predictable rhythm until Mom's phone call last winter changed everything. "The doctor found something," she whispered, her voice uncharacteristically small. "Just a lump, probably nothing. Don't worry your father about it yet." 3 days later, the diagnosis confirmed our worst fears. Stage 2 breast cancer. Treatable, but requiring immediate surgery followed by radiation and chemotherapy. Mom faced months of brutal treatments, and she couldn't do it alone. Without hesitation, I packed essential belongings and moved back into my childhood bedroom. The company granted me partial remote work status, allowing me to accompany Mom to medical appointments while maintaining my job. Dad seemed genuinely grateful for my help, and Heather expressed relief that someone could share caregiving responsibilities. The first few weeks passed in a blur of doctor appointments, medication schedules, and research into treatment options. Mom underwent surgery successfully, and we prepared for her recovery and subsequent treatments. During this time, I noticed Dad's increasing secretiveness regarding financial matters. One evening, while organizing Mom's medical documents, Dad snatched a billing statement from my hands. "I'll handle the financial side," he snapped, locking the papers in his desk drawer. When I suggested creating a spreadsheet to track medical expenses for insurance purposes, he dismissed the idea immediately. Your mother and I managed our finances for 30 years without your spreadsheets, he said sharply. Focus on helping her recover, not poking around in our accounts. Despite his resistance, Mom trusted me to help organize her medical bills and insurance claims. When Dad worked late, she whispered, there should be enough in my fund to cover whatever insurance doesn't. About $50,000 I've saved over the years. For emergencies like this. Warning signs accumulated subtly. Missing mail containing bank statements. Changed passwords on online accounts. Hushed arguments between my parents when they thought I couldn't hear. Heather suddenly sporting expensive new jewelry despite her modest bank salary. One afternoon, Mom mentioned confusion about discrepancies in her most recent bank statement. The balance seems lower than I expected, she said, forehead creased with worry. Raymond says it's just pending insurance reimbursements, but something doesn't feel right. Before I could ask more questions, Dad entered the room, ending our conversation with a pointed look at Mom. Later that night, I overheard them arguing in their bedroom. She doesn't need to know everything about our finances, Dad hissed. Miranda already thinks she runs this household since she moved back. She's just trying to help, Mom defended weakly. And I have a right to know where my own money is going. The following morning, Mom avoided eye contact at breakfast, and Dad announced he'd handle all further communication with the insurance company. The first seeds of suspicion took root in my mind, though I couldn't yet imagine the bitter harvest to come. 3 weeks after Mom's surgery, while she rested upstairs, I noticed her bank statement on the kitchen counter. Before I could look closely, Dad snatched it away, stuffing it into his briefcase. What are you doing with your mother's mail? He demanded. Nothing, I replied. It was just sitting there. Is everything okay with her accounts? She mentioned some concerns about the balance. Dad's face flushed. Your mother is on medication. She gets confused. Everything is fine. Later that day, Mom mentioned her concerns again. I thought I had more saved, she whispered while Heather and Dad were out. For years, I put away $200 each month. It should be over $50,000 by now. Let me help you check the accounts, I offered. Maybe there's a simple explanation. Mom's eyes darted nervously to the stairs. Your father says he's handling it. Maybe I'm just confused from the medication. That evening, during family dinner, Dad interrogated me about recent purchases. That's a new laptop bag, he observed. Must have been expensive. Not really, I answered. The company provided it for remote work. And those shoes? New watch? You seem to have extra money lately. Confusion washed over me. I'm wearing 3-year-old shoes, Dad. And this watch was a college graduation gift from Mom. Remember? Heather chimed in. Your apartment must be expensive too.
Downtown, right?
Those places cost a fortune. I live in Westridge, I corrected. The affordable complex near the industrial park. You've been there, Heather. Mom remained silent, pushing food around her plate. The conversation felt orchestrated, though I couldn't understand why. After dinner, I searched for Mom's bank statements in Dad's desk drawer, hoping to make sense of her concerns. I found them hidden beneath tax documents, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Regular withdrawals over the past 6 months had depleted her savings account by nearly $40,000. The door creaked behind me. Dad stood watching, arms crossed. Finding what you're looking for, he asked coldly. These withdrawals, I said, holding up the statement. What happened to Mom's money? Interesting you should ask, he replied, his voice dangerously quiet. I've been wondering the same thing. Checking on your theft. Theft?
What are you talking about?
Don't play innocent, he snapped. Money started disappearing right after you moved back home. Convenient timing. That's ridiculous, I protested. I haven't touched Mom's accounts. The following morning, Heather triumphantly produced bank records showing large transfers that coincided with my return home. Explain these, she demanded, showing printouts to Mom. The dates match perfectly with when Miranda moved back. Mom stared at the papers, then at me, her eyes filled with hurt and confusion. Miranda, please tell me you didn't. Mom, I would never, I insisted, reaching for the documents. Heather pulled them away. The evidence is clear. Dad declared. $50,000, gradually siphoned from your mother's account while she was vulnerable and distracted by her illness. That's insane, I said. I have my own money. Why would I steal from Mom? Let me see those transfers. So, you can doctor the evidence? Heather scoffed. We're not stupid. Mom remained silent, eyes averted, as Dad and Heather built their case against me. Each attempt to defend myself met with dismissal or another accusation. The tension in the house became unbearable, exacerbating Mom's already fragile condition. Her skin paled, and she retreated to bed early, claiming fatigue from her medications. That night, I sobbed into my pillow, feeling utterly betrayed. The family I'd put my career on hold to help now viewed me as a thief. Something wasn't adding up, and I needed to understand what was happening before the situation deteriorated further. I texted my college roommate, Tara, explaining the bizarre accusations. She responded immediately. Use your financial training. Follow the money trail. Someone's lying and bank records don't. Her words sparked determination through my tears. Whatever game my father and sister were playing, I would uncover the truth. For Mom's sake, and for mine. The following week brought icy silence from Heather and cold suspicion from Dad. Mom avoided being alone with me, scurrying away whenever Dad or Heather left the room. My attempts to speak privately with her met with convenient interruptions or sudden household emergencies, requiring her attention elsewhere. Wednesday evening, Mom's sister, Aunt Patricia, called. Miranda, what's this I hear about you taking advantage of your mother's illness? She asked without preamble. Heather says you've been stealing money for months. That's absolutely false. I insisted, stomach churning at the realization Heather had been spreading rumors throughout the extended family. Someone's taking Mom's money, but it isn't me. Your father says they found evidence, transfers to your account. Aunt Patricia continued skeptically. Why would they make that up? I don't know yet, I admitted. But I intend to find out. After hanging up, I overheard Dad and Heather in his study, voices low but intense. We need to confront her directly, Dad said. Make her admit what she's done and return the money. What if she refuses? Heather asked. Then she leaves. Your mother's treatment is starting soon, and we need that money back. Without it, we'll have to make some difficult decisions about her care options. My blood ran cold. Were they suggesting Mom's treatment depended on the stolen money? That made no sense. Dad's salary and their insurance should cover most costs. We'll do it tomorrow night, Dad continued. Family dinner. She won't make a scene with your mother present. Heather's reply chilled me further. And if she does? Mom's already fragile. Then that proves what kind of person she really is, Dad answered. Willing to upset her sick mother rather than admit her guilt. The next morning, Dad announced a family dinner to discuss Mom's treatment options. Mom appeared withdrawn, picking at her breakfast without eating. When I offered to help her shower, she flinched away from my touch. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? She whispered, eyes welling with tears. Mom, whatever you think I did, please believe me when I say I would never hurt you, I pleaded. Let me explain after dinner tonight. She nodded vaguely, already shuffling toward the bathroom alone. Dinner began with forced normalcy. Dad carved the roast beef while Heather chatted about workplace gossip. Mom sat silently, her food untouched. I attempted small talk about the improving spring weather, receiving minimal responses. Halfway through the meal, Dad set down his fork with deliberate precision. Miranda, there's something we need to discuss. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Mom stared at her plate while Heather straightened in her chair, watching me like a predator. Where is your mother's money? Dad asked bluntly. I don't know what you're talking about, I responded, fighting to keep my voice steady. Don't insult our intelligence, he snapped, producing a folder. $50,000 withdrawn from your mother's account since you moved back home. Coincidence. He slid bank statements across the table, highlighted withdrawals circled in angry red marker. Before I could examine them closely, Heather produced additional papers. Transfers that match your days off work, she added smugly. Times when Dad and I were both at the bank, leaving you alone with Mom and access to her purse. Her ID, her banking information. I looked at the documents, bewildered by what appeared to be damning evidence. This isn't possible. I never accessed Mom's accounts. Mom finally spoke, her voice barely audible. Why would you take my treatment money? After everything we've done for you. Mom, I didn't take anything, I insisted, reaching for her hand. She pulled away. Dad's voice rose. Stop lying. The evidence is right here. Withdrawals every week, starting exactly when you moved back home. I want to see the actual withdrawal slips, I demanded. These statements just show money leaving the account, not who took it. Convenient excuse, Heather scoffed. The bank doesn't keep those records accessible. Actually, they do, I countered, remembering my banking internship protocols. Every withdrawal has a signature. If I supposedly made these withdrawals, my signature would be on the slips. Dad's face reddened. Enough games. You've stolen from your sick mother when she needed that money most. Your greed could cost her proper treatment. I didn't take any money, I shouted, finally losing composure. Someone's setting me up, and I think I know who. Return the $50,000 or don't come home, Dad roared, pointing toward the door. We won't have a thief living under our roof. Heather smirked triumphantly. You took Mom's money. We all know. I looked at Mom, desperately seeking any sign of doubt in their accusations. Her tear-filled eyes reflected only betrayal and disappointment. My heart shattered. Give me 30 minutes to pack, I said quietly. I grabbed essential clothes, toiletries, and important documents, stuffing them into 2 suitcases. Through the thin walls, I heard Heather consoling Mom while Dad made calls, presumably to family members updating them on my confession through leaving. As I dragged my luggage downstairs, the family gathered in the foyer, a united front against the designated villain. Mom's defeated expression hurt worse than Dad's righteous anger or Heather's smugness. When you're ready to return what you took and apologize, you can come back, Dad announced. Until then, you're not welcome here. I paused at the door, looking directly at my mother. I would never hurt you, Mom. Never. When you're ready to hear the truth, call me. The door closed behind me with finality. I loaded my car in the gathering darkness, tears blurring my vision. With nowhere specific to go, I drove to the 24-hour diner where Mom and I used to share Saturday breakfasts, ordered coffee, and sobbed in the corner booth until closing time. That night, I slept in my car in the Walmart parking lot, alternating between rage and despair. By morning, determination replaced both emotions. I called Tara, who immediately offered her spare bedroom. Stay as long as you need, she insisted. And let's figure out what really happened to that money. Tara's cozy apartment became my sanctuary and war room. The first night, exhaustion overcame me, and I collapsed into a tearful heap on her sofa. They think I'm a monster, I sobbed. My own mother believes I stole from her while she was fighting cancer. Tara brought tea and tissues, listening patiently to the entire sordid story. When my tears finally subsided, she spoke with quiet conviction. You're a financial analyst, Miranda. Use those skills. Bank transactions leave trails. Signatures can't be deleted from records. Someone's playing a dangerous game, and you have the expertise to expose them. Her confidence jolted me from self-pity to action. You're right, I said, wiping my eyes. Every transaction has a paper trail. I need to see those withdrawal slips. The next morning, I called Mom's oncologist, explaining that I needed to verify insurance coverage for her upcoming treatments.
Dr.
Chen's office confirmed her first chemotherapy session was scheduled for the following week, with radiation to follow. The estimated patient responsibility after insurance, approximately $12,000. Nowhere near the $50,000 allegedly missing. Armed with this information, I reviewed what I knew. Mom had saved approximately $50,000 in her personal account. Money began disappearing 6 months ago, coinciding with her diagnosis, not my return home. Dad and Heather worked at the bank where Mom's account was held, giving them easier access than I ever had. My trump card was the power of attorney document Mom had signed before her surgery, authorizing me to handle medical and financial decisions if she became incapacitated. Though never activated since her surgery went smoothly, the document remained legally valid for 6 months. Dressed in my most professional outfit, I entered First National Bank, where Dad served as branch manager. Knowing he worked at the downtown branch, I deliberately visited the Riverside location, reducing the chance of confronting him or Heather. I need to review my mother's account activity, I told a customer service representative, presenting my ID and the power of attorney document. Donna Wilson's accounts, please. The representative, Kevin according to his nameplate, examined the documents carefully. This all appears in order, but I'll need to verify with my manager. 15 minutes and several phone calls later, Kevin led me to a private conference room. We take financial privacy very seriously, he explained. But your paperwork is legitimate. What specifically do you need to see? Complete withdrawal records for the past 6 months, I replied, including signature cards for all transactions over $500. Kevin's fingers flew across the keyboard. That's a significant number of transactions, he noted, eyebrows raising slightly. Were these authorized withdrawals? That's what I'm trying to determine, I answered truthfully. The printer hummed, producing pages of transaction records. Kevin organized them chronologically, then retrieved another folder. These are the signature cards for the larger withdrawals. Bank policy requires us to keep these for 7 years. Scanning the transaction history, I noted a clear pattern. Withdrawals ranging from $1,000 to $3,000 occurring weekly, beginning shortly after Mom's diagnosis. Not one large $50,000 withdrawal as Dad had implied, but multiple smaller ones designed to attract less attention. Then came the smoking gun. The signature card showed every withdrawal allegedly made by Donna Wilson bore the same signature. A signature that matched neither Mom's careful penmanship nor my own signature. However, it bore striking similarities to handwriting I'd seen all my life on permission slips and Christmas cards. My father's handwriting. Do you have records of where these withdrawals were deposited? I asked Kevin. After more typing, he frowned. Most were cash withdrawals. However, 3 transfers went directly to a new account opened 6 months ago. He hesitated. I really shouldn't show you that information without specific authorization. The power of attorney covers all financial matters, I reminded him. If this new account is in my mother's name, I have legal authority to view it. Kevin reluctantly pulled up the account information. Casino Players Club appeared as the receiving institution for transfers totaling $15,000. Can you print everything for me? I'll need copies for my mother's records. Armed with a folder of evidence, I drove to Riverside Casino, 40 minutes outside town. At the customer service desk, I spun a careful story. My mother wanted me to check on her Players Club account. She's been ill and can't come in person. The customer service representative, Barbara, checked her computer.
Donna Wilson?
Yes, she's been a regular these past months. Reached gold status recently. Is she feeling better? Not yet, I replied, maintaining the charade. She mentioned checking her points balance. Barbara printed a player activity report. She's earned quite a few points. Over 20,000 in the last 6 months. That's significant table play. Table play? Not slots. According to this, mostly poker and blackjack. High-stakes tables. Barbara looked up curiously. Is something wrong? No, I assured her. Mom just usually plays slots. Must be trying something new. The player activity report showed frequent visits, often during weekday afternoons when Dad claimed to be working late. The final piece clicked into place when Barbara mentioned, "Your father usually accompanies her. Raymond, right? Such a nice couple." I thanked her and left quickly before my poker face crumbled. Back at Tara's apartment, I organized my evidence methodically. Bank statements showing regular withdrawals. Signature cards bearing my father's handwriting. Casino records confirming his gambling activities using Mom's identity. Additionally, I discovered 2 recent transfers of $2,000 each to Heather's personal account, dated just before and after my confrontation and expulsion. Tara's boyfriend Mark, a junior partner at a local law firm, reviewed my findings. "This is serious," he said gravely. "Identity theft, financial fraud, possibly elder abuse, given your mother's vulnerable state. Your father could face criminal charges." "I don't want him arrested," I admitted. "I just want Mom protected and the truth exposed." "The evidence is compelling," Mark advised. "Present it clearly, document everything, and be prepared for denial and deflection." I spent the next 2 days creating a comprehensive timeline, organizing documents, and steeling myself for the confrontation ahead. The betrayal cut deep, but clarity replaced confusion. My father had stolen my mother's savings to fund a gambling addiction, then framed me when questions arose. My sister had accepted bribes to support his lies. And my mother, vulnerable and scared, had believed them both. Now it was time to bring truth into the light, whatever the cost to our family. 1 week after being thrown out of my childhood home, I returned with purpose and evidence. Rain pelted the driveway as I parked behind Dad's sedan and Heather's compact. Through the kitchen window, I could see the family gathered for dinner, exactly as I'd hoped. The scene looked painfully normal from outside, as if my existence had been easily erased. I knocked firmly, heart pounding against my ribs. Heather answered, her smug expression dissolving into shock. "You're not welcome here," she hissed, attempting to close the door. I placed my foot in the jam. "I have something Mom needs to see."
Now.
Dad appeared behind her, face darkening with anger. "Unless you've brought $50,000, you have nothing we need to see." "Oh, I've brought something much more valuable," I replied evenly. "The truth." I pushed past them into the kitchen where Mom sat at the table, noticeably thinner than just a week ago. Her complexion had taken on a grayish pallor, and new worry lines etched her forehead. She gasped at my appearance, hands fluttering nervously with her napkin. "Miranda," she whispered, half rising, "you shouldn't be here." "I had to come," I said gently. "There's something you need to know." Dad stormed in behind me. "Get out before I call the police." "Go ahead," I challenged. "I'm sure they'd be very interested in seeing what I found." I placed my evidence folder on the kitchen table, the same spot where they'd confronted me a week earlier. "More lies." Heather scoffed, though uncertainty flickered in her eyes. "I went to the bank, Mom," I explained, maintaining eye contact with her alone. "I used the power of attorney you signed before surgery to review your accounts." Dad lunged for the folder. "You had no right." I snatched it away. "Actually, I had every legal right. And what I found explains everything." Slowly, methodically, I laid out the bank statements showing regular withdrawals beginning 6 months earlier, coinciding with Mom's diagnosis, not my return home. "These withdrawals started long before I moved back," I explained. "Small enough to go unnoticed initially, but frequent enough to drain $50,000 over 6 months. Mom frowned, examining the statements. "But they said you took it all at once after you moved home." "They lied," I said simply, producing the next piece of evidence. "These are the withdrawal slips with signatures for each transaction." I placed the photocopied slips on the counter slowly, watching Dad's face drain of color. "That's not my signature," I pointed out. "Nor is it Mom's. But it matches perfectly with Dad's handwriting. Every single withdrawal was made by him, using Mom's account information." "That's ridiculous," Dad blustered, though his confident demeanor cracked. "Anyone could have forged those." "The bank security cameras would show exactly who made each withdrawal," I countered. "Should we request that footage?" Heather jumped in. "Even if Dad made the withdrawals, he could have been doing it for you. You probably manipulated him." "Is that why the casino has records of Donna Wilson gambling regularly for 6 months?" I asked quietly, producing the player activity reports. Strange coincidence that Mom only visited when Dad was supposedly working late and always played his favorite games, poker and blackjack. Mom's hand trembled as she took the casino records. "Raymond, is this true?" Dad's rage transformed to panic. "Donna, I can explain. It wasn't like that. And these," I continued relentlessly, "are records of transfers to Heather's account. $2,000 last week, $2,000 the week before. right when the accusations against me started. Heather backed away, bumping into the refrigerator. Dad said it was a bonus from work. Mom's eyes, filled with mounting horror, moved between her husband and daughter. You both lied? You stole my savings and blamed Miranda. Dad collapsed into a kitchen chair, defeat replacing defiance. I never meant for it to happen this way. After your diagnosis, I was terrified about the medical bills, our finances. I went to the casino just once, thinking I could double your savings, create a safety net. By gambling my treatment money? Mom whispered incredulously. I won it first, Dad continued, words tumbling out. 3,000 became 6. I thought I'd found a solution. Then I started losing. I borrowed a little more, certain I could win it back. The cycle just continued. And framing me? I asked, voice tight with controlled anger. Was that part of the cycle too? Dad couldn't meet my eyes. When your mother started noticing discrepancies, I panicked. You were the perfect scapegoat. Just moved home, had access to everything. Heather suggested it might buy me time to win back the money. Heather flinched. Don't blame this on me. You promised we'd replace the money before Mom needed it for treatment. You paid your own daughter to lie about me, Mom said, comprehension dawning. To accuse her sister of theft while you were the thief all along. $2,000, I told Heather, disgust evident in my voice. That's what my reputation and relationship with Mom were worth to you. Heather had the decency to look ashamed. Dad said he'd lose his job if anyone found out, that we'd lose the house. He promised he'd fix everything. Mom stood slowly, newfound strength straightening her spine despite her weakened condition. How much is left, Raymond? Of my 50,000. Dad stared at the floor. Nothing. It's all gone. My treatment starts next week, she said quietly. How are you planning to pay for it? I thought I could win it back, he repeated feebly. One good night at the tables. While I was thrown out of my home, labeled a thief, and separated from my sick mother, I added, voice breaking. All to cover your addiction and lies. Mom moved to my side, taking my hand. I'm so sorry I doubted you, Miranda. I should have known better. The kitchen fell silent except for the ticking clock and Dad's ragged breathing. Finally, I turned to him, borrowing his own words from a week earlier. Return the $50,000 or don't come home, I said evenly. Mom needs that money for treatment, and you're going to find a way to replace every cent. The aftermath of my revelation unfolded like a slow-motion earthquake, reshaping our family landscape forever. That night, Mom asked Dad to leave the house, a request he complied with silently, packing a small suitcase while we watched. The man who had ruled our home with absolute authority suddenly appeared small, defeated by his own deceptions. Where will you go? Mom asked more from practicality than concern. My brother's place probably, Dad replied. Until we figure things out. Heather hovered anxiously by the stairs. Should I go too? Mom sighed heavily. That's your decision. But understand that trust must be rebuilt with both of you. After Dad left, Heather broke down completely. He threatened to fire me if I didn't back up his story, she sobbed. Said he'd tell everyone I was incompetent, make sure no bank in the state would hire me. Then he offered money, and I just took it. You chose money over your sister, I said, unable to keep the hurt from my voice. You watched them throw me out and said nothing. I was scared, she admitted. Dad's always been the one with power in this family. I never learned to stand up to him like you did. Mom intervened before our conversation escalated. We'll address Heather's choices later. Right now, we need to secure whatever assets remain and figure out my treatment options. The following morning, I accompanied Mom to the bank where we met with the regional manager, not at Dad's branch. We explained the situation without pressing charges, but with enough details to ensure Dad couldn't access any accounts moving forward. Mom opened new accounts at a different bank, transferred remaining funds, and revoked all previous access authorizations. Our next stop was Mom's oncologist. Dr. Chun reviewed the treatment plan, now complicated by financial constraints. The standard protocol remains our best option, she explained gently. but there are programs that can help with costs. Pharmaceutical assistance, hospital charity funds, payment plans. We'll make it work, I assured Mom, squeezing her hand. Your health is the only priority now. Back home, we found Heather had prepared lunch, an obvious peace offering. I called the hospital billing office, she said tentatively. They have hardship programs we can apply for. And I'm selling my car for a cheaper model. It should generate about $8,000 toward Mom's treatment. Mom's expression softened slightly. That would help. 3 days after his departure, Dad returned unannounced, standing awkwardly in the doorway with a cashier's check. $12,000, he explained. Everything in my personal savings, plus what I got pawning my watches and golf clubs. Mom accepted the check without comment, her face impassive. It's a start, Dad continued nervously. I've taken a loan against my retirement account for another $15,000. Should clear by next week. That still leaves more than $20,000 missing, I pointed out. I know, he acknowledged. I'm selling the boat. And I've started treatment for the gambling. There's a program through the hospital. His admission hung in the air, the first time he'd acknowledged his behavior as an addiction requiring intervention rather than just a series of bad decisions. Mom finally spoke. We'll need a formal repayment plan, documented and notarized. And proof of your treatment attendance. Dad nodded, accepting her terms without protest. This new humility seemed foreign on him, like ill-fitting clothes. Can I visit? He asked. During your treatments? Let's see how things progress, Mom answered noncommittally. The weeks that followed brought a restructuring of our family system. Mom began chemotherapy, facing the brutal side effects with quiet courage. I took family medical leave from work to become her primary caregiver, moving back into my childhood bedroom permanently. Heather remained in the house but found an apartment to move into the following month, recognizing the need for space, as we all healed. Dad attended Gamblers Anonymous meetings 3 times weekly, providing attendance verification as promised. He secured a personal loan to cover the remaining debt, establishing automatic payments to Mom's new medical expense account. Their marriage hung in painful limbo, neither moving toward divorce nor reconciliation, but existing in a cautious holding pattern. 1 month after the confrontation, we gathered with a family therapist, Dr. Marshall, for the first of many difficult sessions. Raymond, what motivated your initial decision to gamble with Donna's savings? Dr. Marshall asked. Dad shifted uncomfortably. I've always been the provider, the one who solved problems. When Donna got sick, the medical bills looked insurmountable. I thought I could multiply her savings, create security. By risking her safety net? Dr. Marshall probed. I didn't see it as risking then, Dad admitted. I was certain I would win. The gambling gave me an illusion of control when everything else felt chaotic. And the decision to blame Miranda? Dad couldn't meet my eyes. By then, I was desperate, not thinking clearly. Miranda has always been independent, questioned my authority. Heather suggested that if anyone would land on their feet after leaving home, it would be Miranda. Heather flinched. I didn't mean for you to frame her. I just meant she was strong. You both saw my strength as justification for cruelty, I observed. As if hurting me would somehow hurt less because I could survive it. What do you need from your family to begin healing, Miranda? Dr. Marshall asked. Acknowledgement, I answered immediately. Not just apologies, but true recognition of the damage done. And boundaries. I'm here for Mom, not to reconstruct some false family harmony. We continued weekly sessions, gradually addressing decades of dysfunctional patterns. Dad's controlling behavior. Heather's enabler role. Mom's passive acceptance. My rebellious distancing. Slowly, painfully, we began establishing healthier interactions. Extended family members who had believed the theft accusations required individual conversations, each humiliating for Dad and vindicating for me. Aunt Patricia apologized tearfully for her assumptions. I should have known better. You've always been the honest one. 2 months into Mom's treatment, her prognosis looked cautiously optimistic. The tumor had responded well to chemotherapy, and radiation would begin soon. Dad continued making regular payments, gradually restoring the stolen funds. Heather moved into her apartment, but visited daily, her relationship with me thawing incrementally through shared concern for Mom. I established firm boundaries with both Dad and Heather. Trust, once shattered, couldn't be instantly restored. Dad accepted this new reality with surprising grace, perhaps humbled by confronting his addiction. Heather worked harder, bringing research on treatment options and taking Mom to appointments when I needed rest. One evening, Mom found me on the back porch, staring at the sunset. "I should have believed you," she said, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders against the evening chill. "Of all my family, you've never given me reason to doubt your integrity." "Why didn't you?" I asked, the question that had haunted me for months. She considered carefully before answering.
Fear, partly.
"It was easier to believe you had taken the money than to face the possibility that your father, my partner of 35 years, had betrayed me so completely. And habit. I've spent decades accepting Raymond's version of reality." "Are you going to forgive him?" I asked. "Forgiveness may come eventually," she replied. "Trust is a separate matter entirely. I'm learning to distinguish between the two." Her wisdom resonated deeply. Forgiveness didn't require forgetting or eliminating consequences. It was a release for the wounded, not absolution for the offender. By the 3-month mark, our new family configuration stabilized. Mom focused on healing, her strength gradually returning between treatment sessions. Dad lived in an apartment near his brother, visited twice weekly, and continued his recovery program. Heather maintained her separate residence while rebuilding relationships individually. And I found unexpected personal growth through the ordeal, my boundaries clearer, my confidence stronger. The money, once restored, seemed almost secondary to the deeper healing taking place within our broken family system. Not a return to what was, but a careful construction of something new, built on painful but necessary truth. 6 months after the confrontation that shattered our family's foundation, I stood in my new apartment, hanging curtains in the morning sunlight. Located just 10 minutes from Mom's house, the space represented both my independence and my continued commitment to her recovery. Mom's treatment had progressed better than expected. After completing chemotherapy and radiation, her latest scans showed no evidence of disease. Her energy returned gradually, hair sprouting in silver wisps that she decided not to dye, wearing her battle scars with dignity. "I earned every one of these silver strands," she told me during our weekly lunch date. "They remind me of my strength." Dad continued his rehabilitation program for gambling addiction, reaching his 6-month sobriety milestone. He marked the occasion by making the final payment, restoring Mom's savings account to its original balance, plus interest. Their marriage remained in limbo, neither divorced nor fully reconciled, but evolving into something resembling respectful friendship. "The counselor says recovery is my priority right now," Dad explained during a family therapy session. "Rebuilding trust comes first, relationship decisions later." His transformation surprised everyone, especially me. The controlling patriarch gradually replaced by a humbled man doing the difficult work of facing his demons. He downsized to a modest 1-bedroom apartment, sold his luxury car for a practical sedan, and taken a position at a different bank with lower stress and reduced temptation. Heather's journey proved equally challenging. After moving into her own place, she enrolled in counseling to address her lifelong pattern of seeking Dad's approval at any cost. She transferred to a different bank branch, establishing professional independence from his influence. Our relationship remained cautious but warming, small steps towards sisterhood without the toxic competition that Dad had previously encouraged. "I always envied your courage," she admitted during a rare sisters-only dinner. "Standing up to Dad, pursuing your own path. I thought conforming would bring security, but it just made me complicit in hurting you." My own healing journey continued through weekly therapy sessions with Dr. Harper, a compassionate woman who helped me process the betrayal without allowing it to define my future relationships. Under her guidance, I explored trust issues that predated the theft accusations, recognizing patterns of hypervigilance developed during childhood in response to Dad's unpredictable moods. "You've built remarkable resilience," Dr. Harper observed during our 6-month assessment. "Many people would have severed family ties completely after such betrayal." "Sometimes I wonder if I should have," I admitted. "Maintaining relationship doesn't mean erasing boundaries," she reminded me. "You've chosen a path of engaged distance, present but protected. That takes significant strength." My professional life flourished unexpectedly through the ordeal. The financial investigation skills I'd employed to uncover Dad's deception impressed my firm's partners, leading to a promotion focusing on fraud detection for corporate clients. The painful personal experience translated into professional insight, an irony not lost on me. More surprising was my cautious venture into dating again. Alex, a civil engineer I met through Terra, approached relationships with refreshing directness. "My parents divorced when I was 12, he shared on our third date. "It taught me that honesty matters more than harmony." His words resonated deeply, reflecting lessons I'd learned at tremendous cost. We moved forward slowly, my new boundaries firmly in place, his respect for them unwavering. On a crisp autumn evening, exactly 6 months after the confrontation, Mom suggested a family dinner. "Not to pretend everything's fixed," she clarified, "but to acknowledge how far we've come." We gathered around her dining table, the setting of so much previous pain now reclaimed for a new purpose. Dad arrived with flowers for Mom and a dessert he'd baked himself, small offerings of continued amends. Heather brought photo albums, suggesting we remember happier times while acknowledging hard truths. I contributed simply my presence, still the most difficult gift I could offer. The conversation flowed with surprising ease, absent the old patterns of Dad dominating, Heather appeasing, Mom mediating, and me challenging. Instead, we practiced the communication skills learned in therapy, speaking honestly without accusation, listening without defensiveness. "I've been thinking about returning to work part-time," Mom announced over coffee. "The hospital has a patient advocacy position that would let me use my nursing experience in a less physically demanding role." "That sounds perfect for you," I encouraged, noting how her expression brightened at the prospect of reclaiming professional identity. "My therapist says meaningful work is important for recovery," Dad added. "Building a life with purpose beyond addiction." "Speaking of work," Heather interjected, "I've applied for a financial counseling certification, helping people avoid the mistakes we made as a family." The conversation continued, not erasing our painful history, but building something new alongside it. Not perfect, not completely healed, but authentically progressing. Later, as Dad and Heather prepared to leave, Mom pulled me aside in the kitchen. "I want you to know something important," she said quietly. "Even in my darkest moments when I believed the worst about you, some part of me held onto the truth. Your integrity was the only constant in this family, and I failed to honor it. You were vulnerable, manipulated by the people you trusted most," I reminded her. "Which makes your forgiveness all the more precious," she replied, squeezing my hand. "You taught me that strength isn't about controlling others, but about standing firmly in your truth even when everyone doubts you." Her words crystallized the profound lesson emerging from our family's painful journey. Truth eventually surfaces, however deeply buried. Trust, once broken, requires more than apologies to rebuild. Forgiveness doesn't erase consequences, but creates space for new beginnings. And family bonds, though wounded, can transform rather than shatter when honesty finally takes precedence over harmony. As I drove home to my apartment that night, I reflected on the strange path that had brought me here. 6 months ago, standing in the rain after being thrown out of my childhood home, I couldn't have imagined the growth that would emerge from such betrayal. The family I returned to wasn't the same when I left, nor was I the same daughter and sister. We had all been broken, then cautiously reconstructed into stronger, more authentic versions of ourselves. The journey continues, day by day, choice by choice. Trust rebuilds slowly, through consistent actions, not dramatic gestures. Relationships evolve at their own pace, without forced reconciliation or artificial closure. And healing happens not in perfect resolution, but in the honest acknowledgement of both pain and possibility. Have you ever experienced a betrayal that ultimately led to unexpected growth? How did you balance forgiveness with appropriate boundaries? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more conversations about family healing, personal resilience, and the courage to stand in your truth even when standing alone. Thank you for witnessing my journey, and may it offer some light if you're walking through similar darkness.